Okay.
We have about 2 minutes to get started. I'm going to go ahead and put the sign in chat.
Anita, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Much better. Thank you.
Okay, I think someone had their mic on as well, and they did mute it. So I was just about to remind them, and then it got muted. Okay, one more time, I'll put that sign-in sheet into the chat in case you're just coming in. It looks like we have a very small group this afternoon. This morning, I did the elementary version of this, and today we're going to be talking about kind of like technology skills that we should be introducing to our students, kind of in a scope and sequence sort of way. That doesn't mean that you can't introduce certain skills before or later. It kind of gives you just a guideline of what should be introduced to help them along their way. The first question I asked the last group was, what grade should students start using digital tools to produce and publish writing? And I gave them some options: kinder first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And a lot of them answered either kinder first, second. I think there was like one or two that answered third. Nobody said fourth and fifth, which was great. But we learned, it is in kindergarten. Students are producing and publishing writing using digital tools in kindergarten. And by 5th grade, they're supposed to be producing a 2-page paper. And so what does that mean for 6 and up? That they should already be pretty proficient in those skills, but there's still a lot for them to learn. So that's what we're going to go over today. So I'll present my screen again. And I don't have a poll for you guys just because you guys have kids that have already been kind of drenched in technology, but that doesn't mean that they're already know how to do all of those things just because it's been around them. And I went to a conference a while back, and Jamie Katsup made a great analogy. Sort of the way he put it was, we don't let kids just get in our cars and drive once they turn 16. Just because they've been in our cars, they've rode in the cars their entire lives since they were babies, doesn't mean that they're ready to just take off, once they hit 16. So again, with technology, just because we put it in their hands doesn't mean that they're ready to just take off with it. A lot of things have to be taught. And so let's go to the next thing. I didn't know when I first created this slideshow what ELA adopted curriculum you have. Eric did give me access to it yesterday, so I was able to grab a lot of the lessons, and so I'll be able to show you where the writing standard is that we'll be looking at today. And so I just kind of grabbed a few from each grade level. And so we're looking at what is necessary for students in order for them to successfully complete assignments through online platforms, especially now that we're doing virtual learning. We're looking at one particular standard right now because I'm going over just basic computer skills, what it means and how to teach it. And your student should be able, their goal is to be able to demonstrate proficiency in the use of computers and applications, as well as have an understanding of the concepts and underlying hardware, software, and connectivity. And just as I explained in the last group, technology is not a separate entity. Maybe in your classes that you've taught before, you would head down to the computer lab and say, okay, it's time for some technology. But we're living in a time where it should be like in there with whatever you're learning. So in with your ELA, in with your math, your science, it shouldn't be kept separate. Computers isn't a separate subject. So it all needs to come together. And I heard a question, so I'm just going to pop out really quick, and it may be just needing the sign-in sheet. Yes. And there we go. All right, so basic operations for secondary level. These are all going to be introduced at 6th grade level, building on skills that they've learned in elementary. So things that they learned in elementary were very, very basic. So like turning on a computer, logging on to a computer, learning what the different parts, so like the vocabulary, just even such simple things like what a cursor is, this little thing that moves around on your screen, the scroll bar, a mouse, those things should be taught with the correct vocabulary in those lower grades. So when you're teaching virtually to your kids and you say, okay, I need you to take your cursor and go to a new tab, your 6th graders and up should know what those things are. If not, those things do need to be reinforced and taught again so that you can easily move on from lesson to lesson. As a digital coach, even adults have trouble remembering, what do you mean open a window? I already have a window open. Well, I need you to open a new window. So things like that. And it's okay if they don't know what you're talking about. You can go through those and just talk to them again. If you yourself are not sure, meet with me and I will get you caught up to speed so that you can help your students. So these are all going to be the things that they need to learn. So identify successful troubleshooting strategies. Things like a frozen screen, little issues, and nothing too major. If it's something that does need to be referred to the IT group, go ahead and put in those tickets for that. But sometimes little things can be solved. So I'll go into that in just a little bit. Independently operate peripheral equipment. So other things besides your Chromebook or laptop that they have, scanners, digital cameras, 3D printers, if they're available, students need to start using those things independently. Compressing and expanding large files. So things like zip files, they need to know how to put those files into a zip file and unzipping those files to access the files within them. Identify and use a variety of storage media, such as thumb drives, DVDs, servers, online storage, cloud, and they also need to know why you would use a certain storage for certain things. And identify and assess the capabilities and limitations of emerging technologies. So that's kind of a big one. That's like where the creativity comes in. The standard that goes with this is CCSS ELA Literacy Writing 6.6. And it's used technology, including the internet, to produce and publish writing, as well as to interact and collaborate with others, demonstrate sufficient command of keyboarding skills to type a minimum of 3 pages in a single setting. You're probably surprised, I don't know, maybe you're not, that how much they need to be doing by 6th grade. If they're not quite there yet, don't panic. I know we're halfway through. Maybe your kids are just doing a paragraph. Keep working with them. Right now, they should have that automaticity in keyboarding skills, hands in the right place. And we talked about this in the elementary level, that where you're supposed to be sitting up in a proper place, your fingers are on the keyboard in the right keys, so your hands should be able to just easily move about the keyboard. I explained my oldest, who is in high school, still does the one finger thing across his keyboard, and it drives me crazy. But I know adults that still do it, so it's not efficient, but it does get the work done. But we do need to start helping those kids get those keyboarding skills down. All right, so let's take a look at one of the lessons in 6th grade from Springboard. I'm hoping that I grabbed the right one. There were so many different ones. There was the national one, there was the Common Core one. So I did just take one of them, and here it is. So this is responding to literature. And if you scroll down, you can see that W66 is in here. So it's not written out like one of these. It's just an additional standard that has been addressed. But here's our technology tip. And if you ever get stuck, like how can I get this technology piece in here effectively, don't hesitate to email me, like say, hey, this is the lesson, this is what we're working on. Can you please take a look at it? I'm not sure how to get my kids in this, and to get them to do what they need to do effectively. You could always email me, we could set up a meet, I could take a look at the lesson and go over it with you. I would be happy to help you plan it out. So this one says, using a shared drive or online document storage site to share and publish your work. So I've helped teachers before show them how to share lessons between students, whether it's with a partner, whether it's in a group. I can show you those things either through Google Classroom or within a Google Doc, Google Slides, things like that. There are several different ways, even within Kami. So if we're using a shared drive, we can go over to Google Drive. And we'll just open up we'll use a Google Doc for this example. Oops. We won't actually do like the whole shared drive, but if they're sharing within a partner, you're going to title it, and I'm just going to say demo. And if you give your student someone else to share with, they're going to click that share button, and this is exactly what you would share on your screen, how to share it. And I'm going to share it with Steven. And then if it's just for the other student to look at it and give them feedback, you're going to instruct them to change this to commenter. If they are sharing the document and they're both writing on it and contributing to it, you'll leave it on editor. And so those things need to be explained to students so that they know the differences between these. And then you'll hit send, or they will. Okay. Oops, wrong one. And I left my paper. Where did it go? Okay. So that is one of the things. So if you ever get stuck on how to do any of these technology pieces within your lesson, like I said, just let me know and I can help you with that. If you're not sure what it means, again, let me know and I can take a look at it and try to help decipher what it's asking. All right, so let's take a look at how and why we need to teach some of these skills. And of course, testing is going to be a big part of it. Even from the time they first begin in little kindergarten, they start testing on computers or laptops, whatever they're using. And then as you saw a while ago, it's part of our Common Core curriculum. This is just one of the standards where technology is included. I will be going over some of the other standards as this month progresses. And this is how we can get those older kids involved and engaged and wanting to do the work. So direct instruction when introducing new concepts and vocabulary. We need to teach students how to save files and explain why students should save them in a certain way. And so that's what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes I know we have Google Drive and everything automatically saves to that, but we still have jump drives, we still have the cloud, we still have other ways of saving. I know a lot of us have been using Kami and it doesn't automatically save like right then and there. Like there is sometimes a few minutes where it lags. So we may need to teach students how to save that file. It doesn't always save the work properly. It's a new system, it's a new program. So it's a good idea to teach your students how to save that to their Google Drive in case it gets lost, things like that. So we can explain that to our students and it would save arguments down the line. Like, I know I did that, Miss Chavez, it's there, but then you can pull it up from the Google Drive. Oh, there it is. Or you can say, oh, it's on my jump drive. I know a lot of students don't even know what a jump drive is anymore, or thumb drive, whatever you want to call it these days. But there are different reasons to save the files to different places. All right, and then we have Chromebooks. It's nice that we have Chromebooks because we have support.google.com. That is those things that have, if your Chromebook is doing something weird, we have this, and you can put in almost every thing that comes up in a Chrome. And there's all the different apps. You can search what is happening. So even if I just go to Google Chrome, you can see all the potential problems that might be going on with it. We can look at fixed problems, fix issues with passwords, fix this, fix that. So you could type it in, you can type in your issue, what you're having. I'll just use their example, frozen screen. And it's going to produce all these different solutions for you to try. So students need to know how to do this in case you're not available, in case our IT team, in case it's the weekend, in case they can't get to it right away. There are some solutions sometimes. And letting go the reins. I know it's hard to let your students take control. And of course, now that they have those devices at home in their laps or their tables or desks or wherever they have them, they do get to have that control. And hopefully they still have that when they come back into the classroom, and you have a little more trust with them being able to do what they need to do with those devices. And that's not just the Chromebooks, that's talking about like other technologies that we have available for our students. It's kind of like the example earlier when I said when we let in our students or our kids drive our car, it's hard to like not panic and just let them learn, but we have to let them. And then introduce features that's going to enhance their writing. This is where students are going to get engaged and excited about writing, because they do like to add their own creativity to their writing. So we start telling them about how to add infographics, multimedia, video clips to their writing. All these other text features, bold print, and captions and things like that. All right. So in 7th grade, all the things that we introduced in 6th grade, they're going to be reinforced in 7th grade. So it's all the same ones that I just talked about. You're just going to keep reinforcing them. How do we keep them interested? Is what we'll talk about. So the standard changes just a little bit here. So use technology, including the internet, to produce and publish writing, and link to and cite sources, as well as to interact and collaborate with others, including linking to and citing sources. So this hasn't been a really big deal up until now. I know it starts in elementary where they have to cite evidence in the younger grades, but it hasn't been in their writing as much as it is in here. So again, the reasons kind of stay the same. The real reasons are we want our children to be prepared when they go into the real world applications. What can they do once they learn these skills? And so how? We're going to allow students to explore ways to troubleshoot. So instead of just guiding them toward there, we're going to let them find ways. Well, what do you think is wrong with the thing? What is something that you've tried before? What is something? So allowing them to fix their what's wrong with their Chromebooks sometimes is a good way for them to learn. Encourage the use of technology to interact or collaborate. Our poor babies right now are struggling. They really want those interactions, and so I'm hoping that you're giving them enough time to collaborate and discuss with each other, meet with each other in other ways other than just a full group in a meet link. As I said in the last session, TikTok is probably not I'm not encouraging it. I'm not saying you need to go get an account, but I've seen a lot of teachers interact with their students in that way. And they can put on little skits, little videos for their students, and these teachers some of them have really taken off, and they have hundreds and thousands of followers, and even their students follow them. Maybe they give them some points for following maybe they get little extra points for commenting. They get another point for liking the video, things like that. And some of them have some really good content on those videos. So just another way to get them interacting and seeing what you need to present to them. Any of those things is possible. Of course, we have our stuff that we support here, like Flipgrid and Kami, to get videos and collaborations in that way. But off the campus, yeah, you can always do something like that. And then students need to understand that the internet is an essential research tool. So yes, it's cool. It has YouTube and all these other things that students like at these older grades, the upper grades, but it's also a tool. And so that needs to be explained. It's not just for entertainment purposes. And then again, keep introducing features that could go in their writing, charts, graphs, videos, hyperlinks. This list goes on, and it's not, this is the ones you should do at this grade, this is the ones you should introduce at this grade. But if they're not, you could do those check-ins. If they're not using those when they submit that writing to you, if it's just writing, start telling them like, hey, you could spiff up your writing by using this. You could add to your writing by adding some links in here. You could do this. So let them get creative. Let them put those things in there. All right. So all those skills from 6th, 7th, they should all be at mastery by 8th grade. So we've introduced them at 6th grade, where we reinforced them at 7th, and they should have them down by the 8th grade level. And here it doesn't change a whole lot, but I'm going to go ahead and read it to you anyway. So the standard says, use technology, including the internet, to produce and publish writing and present the relationships between information and ideas efficiently, as well as to interact and collaborate with others. So we're going to take a look at this lesson. I think I skipped 7th. Sorry. Let's go down. I don't see it here. It might be down here. Yeah, so right here is the standard. So this was actually written out on this one. And this one is presenting a multimedia campaign. You can see the materials are computers with internet access. So they do have that. And here's our technology tip. Using a presentation tool. And Prezi is free. I think it's still free. I used it back when I was going to school. I don't know if it still is. PowerPoint is a lot like Google Slides. So it doesn't, even though it doesn't say Google Slides, it does not have to be PowerPoint. It can be something, because it just says a presentation tool, such as, and then so you can use your own presentation tools like we have, wherever we have available. They can help organize your presentation. Be careful to focus on your audience instead of the screen. Use note cards to help you maintain eye contact. And you can't see it whenever I bring up my note cards on a presentation. Only the presenter can see them. So I do have notes that I can present to myself, and so those things can be shown to students, how to use those notes at the bottom of, and I'll just go, let me exit out of here. So right in here, let me see if I have, so right down here are my notes, and when I go to present, I'll go back over here. There's another little button that says notes when you're on present. Then you can click that so you can teach your students to use those whenever they're presenting so that they don't forget what they're going to say. And I'm hoping this was the right one that I was on. Yes. All right, so again, if you're not sure what the student needs to be using, or if you're not sure how to use the tool that they need to be using, if you're new to the district, or if you're a new teacher and you haven't used these, maybe you're used to PowerPoint and not Google Slides, let me know, make an appointment with me, and I'll get you caught up so that you can teach your students how to use those tools. So now these skills are mastered. What now? So we're still seeing that we have to know these for testing. We have to know them for the standards. But why else? The real reasons, they're out there. And you can see that this whole pandemic and having to teach online, that's a huge one right now. But there's also other reasons. And they come about throughout life. Like everything that we use basically has some kind of technology in it, whether it's our cars, our washing machines, our dryers, like everything has some kind of technology, unless it just doesn't do anything at all. But a lot of the things that we use, if it has a button it turns on, it has technology in it. So students need to know that. I think a lot of things we use, we take for granted. Like that doesn't, yeah, that does have some kind of technology in it. So do those check-ins with your students. Make sure that they are where they need to be. Pull them aside when you're in your meets, and if you see they're struggling, if their writing is not where it should be, if they're still barely getting through with a paragraph, give them those tools. And I think you may have seen it right here. If they're really struggling with the keyboarding skills, there are some alternative ways for them to input through verbally. There's not a whole lot to do with like if they have speech impediments or anything like that. Maybe someone can dictate for them, but there are ways for students who have just the eye-hand coordination, it's just not there. We do have tools for them. And so if you're not familiar with those tools like Read and Write or the tools in Kami, please make an appointment with me and I will show you how to use those tools like in Read and Write. All right, so if they're doing well, just make sure that they're able to effectively and efficiently compose. They should be able to revise and correct their own papers by now. They should be able to generate data, evidence, and content. They should be able to publish to all audience through different platforms, so like blogs, to websites, tweets, presentations, with multimedia, and even hybrid text. All right, so we're moving up. We're done with the middle school and we're going into 9th grade. So we're still looking at the same skills, basic skills, and we're just going to keep improving these. We're going to hopefully keep improving and getting our keyboarding skills are going to keep improving and they're going to get faster and more efficient. And our standard changes a little bit again. And so this one is use technology, including the internet, to produce, publish, and update individual or shared writing products, taking advantage of technology's capacity to link to other information and to display information flexibly and dynamically. So that's kind of a big one. And so we'll look at the lesson here and see if it matches along with that. Oops, that is not what I wanted. Go back. So this is our 9th grade lesson. And this one is creating a poetry anthology. And I don't remember if this one was, okay, so it is one of the main standards on this, so it's not an additional standard. And so this one is complementary visuals and explain the style and content of the work presented. Use technology to create your anthology and present it in a polished format. So in ninth grade, they're doing quite a bit already. And I like how like I said, I just got into Springboard yesterday, and I've always done elementary. So I really like how they do the planning, the drafting, the revising, editing. I didn't get a chance to look at the student side of this and how it looks. So I'm going to go look at that after this. And it's pretty nice. So as a teacher, looking at this from the teacher standpoint, if you're not sure what that means, because it's pretty vague, use technology to create your anthology, present it in a polished format. Well, that could be a number of things. So if you're not sure what your student should be using, well, what kind of platform should they present on? Again, you get stuck and you're like, oh, I don't know. Should they use Flipgrid? Should they use slides? Should they be writing just a paper? What do they mean? So let me dig into it. Let me look at it, and again, I can help you figure out what would be the best platform for them to use for this particular assignment. All right. So by this, in high school, they're using a variety of digital sources for their writing projects. We're encouraging creativity. So again, everything's mastered. We're just kind of getting them engaged. We're trying to keep them engaged. And I know that's really hard through virtual learning, but it is possible, and we will get them to where they need to be. And hopefully when we're back in the classroom, some of those kids that kind of got left behind won't hate technology when they get back into the classroom. So we're exposing our students to a range of planning strategies, and like the Springboard had, it kind of lays it all out for that planning, which is really nice, but encourage them to choose one that suits their style of learning. Sometimes graphic organizers are set up, to help you, but then other times some students like more of a just jotting stuff down in a messier way, or some students like it more organized. So let them explore and let them choose one that works for them. And moving up through 10th grade, again, all of these are the same, but we're just going to help them continue to improve these skills right here. And the standard, it looks pretty much the same as 9th grade. If you're not sure what this means, taking advantage of technology's capacity to link other information, that's just bringing in links into their paper or their writing, whatever their presentation, whatever they're doing, into their own. So I did include in here citing evidence and drawing evidence from literary texts. That's been throughout, so you saw that, I think, back in 8th grade. And so keep teaching them, keep reminding them that citing evidence and teaching them how to use those tools to annotate, and that they're out there. So I know, geez, when I first started college, having to cite text was a pain, but now there's so many tools out there that help you do those citations for you. And it's so easy now. You just plug in the information and it's done, whether you want it MLA, ALA, whatever. It can do most of the work for you. And so there's those. So use those tools that are available. Tell those students, yes, hey, there's this tool that helps you do that. There's also some tools that help you look for words. And this was a little not new to me, but I learned within like the past couple years. And so I'll show you that. Searching for specific words. And let me see if I have a document. We'll go to this one. And I'm going to open with, ooh. No, maybe that might not work. I don't have a document open that has a whole bunch of text on it. Maybe this one. So if I go in here and I hit Shift F and I look for the word evidence, if I can spell it correctly, it's going to highlight all the places I have that particular word. So teaching those little things to students is super helpful. And then you can go through your document and make sure that that word is supposed to be in there, not supposed to be in there, whatever the case may be. And there we go. So Control F, and you can search your document for whatever word. It also helps you as a teacher to search for certain words. Maybe they were supposed to do some vocabulary and use that word in a sentence, things like that, throughout their text, their writing, anything like that. And capture images for future use. A lot of us have learned how to do screenshots, which is awesome. But again, go back to making sure it's not copyrighted material. So explaining that early on is a good idea. So if you're not sure how to make sure your students are not using copyrighted material, and yes, there's such thing as fair use, but it's always a good idea to just, and I'm just going to go to, let's go to a blank one. And I'm going to look up someone famous, like Mickey Mouse. But you can go over here and teach your students to go to these tools here. And nope, maybe it's under settings. Or more. Nope. Oh, look, I'm already forgetting to. Maybe it's under images. Yes. Images, and okay, so I had to go to Mickey Mouse, then images, then tools, then usage rights. And notice when I go to commercial, their licenses, or Creative Commons, a lot of these Mickey Mouses are going to change. So make sure that you can use those pictures. And so Creative Commons licenses, and they're able to use those pictures. Go back to the presentation here. And we're moving up to 11th grade. Again, all these are the same. We're just going to be looking at the standard and see how it has changed. And it hasn't really changed. So from here on up, it kind of stays the same. Use technology, including the internet, to produce, publish, and update individual or shared writing products, taking advantage of technology's capacity to link to other information and to display information flexibly and dynamically. So it's all the same. What does change is the lessons themselves, right? They get a little bit harder, a little bit more detailed. This one is writing an analytical essay. And our standard down here, nope, I think it's way down here. Yeah. So it's further down, but it's all this same lesson. So they're going to have to need some of these things over here for materials, double entry journal notes. And that looks like it's part of another lesson. So I kind of just grabbed one that had this particular standard. But you can see the technology tip. Use word processing software, so something like Google Doc, to create your final draft. Format your essay professionally. Use margins. So that is another vocabulary term. If your students do not know what margins are, that is something that's going to have to be taught. I think I went more over this in the elementary session this morning, is teaching those terms and that vocabulary. So if your students don't know the vocabulary when you go over these lessons, they're going to struggle. So if they're told, okay, you have to use 1-inch margins, and they're like, margin? You think me like margarine, like butter? No, not that margin. Margin, not margarine. Okay. And then choose a font that's appropriate for academic writing. So students, once they in there and they're like, oh, I like this fancy one. I know when I did the 4th grade class for a little bit, they wanted the prettiest, fanciest hand, whatever, the loopiest writing, the font that they could find. And I'm like, so I let them do that every now and then, but I said for the most part, it has to be appropriate. So we could talk about using a certain font and just make sure that they know what a font is. All right, so when conducting research for these projects or lessons, help students gather useful links and to applications. Conducting research helps students gather useful links and to applications, primary source sites, exhibits, or other rich resources related to a paper that they're writing. Oh, look, I made a typo. Sorry. Set up collaboration groups via Google Docs, sites, or other platforms where they can discuss and respond to each other's ideas and writing outside of class. So again, kids are dying to talk to each other. My poor high school kids are just, Mom, we want to go back to school. And I never thought I would hear that from them, but they are. And I know your students are saying the same thing. All right. And 12th grade, again, I'm not going to go through all these because they're all the same. Basic skills. And it's crazy how these are considered basic at this level, but those are. This is again the same. And so we'll take a look at this last lesson and what that looks like. I think I didn't grab that one. There was one that said like something about trouble, and I thought that was kind of cute, but then I think I went with this one instead. All right, turning facts into narrative. And so this one's pretty neat because it's grabbing television news magazine shows, and then, but this one is using technology to produce. So it has that certain writing technology. And this one's a long one here. So this one has a lot. So I really liked this one though, because it breaks it down. And I think this one is the one where students are actually producing their own like film here. What will the audience see? What will the audience hear? So you could introduce your students on how to add dialogue or music or sounds to their presentations. If you're using Google Slides and you're not sure how to add sound, because that is kind of a newer thing that you're able to do in Google Slides, again, set up a meet with me and I'll show you how to get that done. And then you can show your students how to do those. All right, and so this is the final slide here. I wanted to go over this last one, identify and assess the capabilities and limitations of emerging technologies. It has been in there for the last, all the slides actually. introduced in 6th grade, and this does not have to be just in 12th grade. Get students connected with real people who work in tech fields. Cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, blockchain, design thinking, data science, all those different fields, even if it's something minor, it doesn't even have to be something so grand. Like, yes, I work with technology, and this is what I do, so that they can see how technology is being used out there right now with those jobs. And then you could always do an assignment or a lesson like, where is it going? Where do you think technology is going? Um, what jobs that you see now that have to do with technology, which ones do you think are no longer going to be around because of how fast technology changes, things like that. So I hope you enjoyed today's session. That is all I have for you. If you, like I said, if you want to meet with me on how to go further into your lessons, and I can work with you, I can plan with you, I can help you get that technology component meshed into your lessons with your curriculum, I can do that. So just let me know, set up a meeting with me, and thank you for joining today. Bye, guys.